So it's safe to say that this one is a thinker, and it's a pretty damn good thinker at that, I think. I'm Jack Fitzpatrick and this is my review of Nocturnal Animals. So Nocturnal Animals is the type of film that you just have to process after watching. It's the type of movie that challenges you to actually think about it. And it's the type that isn't afraid to stray from the mainstream and conventional. Instead, Nocturnal Animals is the type of film that will have you questioning things like, what did this mean? What did that mean? And not particularly out of confusion, but more so curiosity. It's the type of film that you aspire to understand. That being said, it's also the type of film that might leave you dissatisfied at first. It's the type of film that grows on you, and the more you think about it, the more you actually like it. And when I say you, I'm actually talking about me. So anyway, let me start off talking about the finer details of the film by speaking about its artistic beginning. I'm just going to take a guess. Nocturnal Animals doesn't quite start out the way that you would expect it to. I won't speak of any of the specificities here, but I will say that I could have done without it. This beginning came off as overly confident and uncomfortably provocative. To me, it just seemed completely irrelevant and it added absolutely nothing to my enjoyment of the film. Instead, it just caught me off guard and established the film in kind of an inaccurate light. It gave me a bad first impression. That being said though, it does eventually come to an end, and when it does, the movie can finally actually start. So I guess from here I should actually explain what the film Nocturnal Animals is, what it's about. And that's kind of a difficult task. It's structured quite unconventionally in the form of 3 different plots, which are all thematically and metaphorically connected. The first of which I would probably call something like the current reality storyline. Secondary to this, there's also a plotline which is set in flashbacks to this storyline. And finally, but certainly not least in any way, this is easily the best part of the film, there's also what I would call the fictional storyline. And I would call it that because it's set within a novel in the movie. Are you confused? Yeah, well, it can get a little bit confusing, particularly at first. The film has this sort of unique rhythm to it, and you kind of have to figure that out before you can get right into it. But with a little but sufficient amount of time to play catch up, it's not too hard to begin to follow along. Within the film, we are shown a strong contrast between the mundane reality and the dramatized fictional version, both of which represent each other in different ways. And this brings me to my next point. Something that I particularly love about this film is how much meaning can be found in every corner, nook and cranny beyond the surface. Everything seeps with different meanings in forms of metaphorical symbolism and parallels between the different storylines within. This makes for a film which is highly ambiguous from the get-go, and this also means that it can be interpreted in many different ways. Unfortunately though, this also means that the movie could be considered quite divisive. Depending on the way that one interprets some parts of the film can change the entire movie for them. For instance, I won't spoil anything here, but when the movie ended, at first I was just like, what? That's the ending? I was not really very happy with it. That was until my beautiful fiancée, who I saw the movie with, explained her interpretations. And with her explanation, I couldn't unsee this version. It made a lot of sense to me, and it actually completely changed my entire view on the ending. And now I actually like the ending quite a lot. I think that similar examples could be used throughout the entire film though. Speaking about these different interpretations and the symbolic meaning of everything, I do have to personally say one downside for me. And that's that I don't think I really got everything. However, I don't actually think that this is the film's fault, but more so maybe mine. And if not, I think it's just a film that you have to watch more than once. Or you know, maybe I'm just an idiot. That's totally a valid possibility as well. And there are some great actors in this movie, including my goddamn movie love, Jake Gyllenhaal, who kills it as always, a very different and a very effective Aaron Taylor-Johnson, who is easily the highlight of this film for me acting-wise, as well as Michael Shannon, who also does a really good job. And the rest of the cast all do good jobs too, but they're just not quite as notable as these 3. These others include Armie Hammer, who just by the way has a fucking awesome name, even though I'm sure it's not his real name, but whatever. As well as Amy Adams and Isla Fisher, who are definitely and clearly 2 different people. Another element that I loved about the film was its capability to remain slow but also insanely intense. Nocturnal Animals would beautifully set up these scenes, which are clearly slowly leading to tragedy. And the thing is that you see it coming from miles away, but these scenes lead down this road to disaster anyway. And during these sorts of scenes, it had me kind of just sitting there in worry. In many of these scenes, it felt like the movie could go in just any number of ways. And the discomfort of this unpredictability was kind of visceral. The film was also able to keep visually interesting throughout, despite being set in this location that some might consider visually boring. The film is mostly set in this dry desert-based area, but it never starts to look old. And I'm always impressed by titles that can do this, like Breaking Bad and Sicario. In the end, Nocturnal Animals barely trips up at all. The film is fantastically written, directed, acted, and successfully tells its dark story with intensity and style. It's something a little bit different, a little bit smaller, and it's something that is just generally very impressive. If you're a film lover, I think you'll find much to appreciate here. And if you're not, well, maybe you'll like it anyway. I would rate Nocturnal Animals an 8.75 out of 10. So let me know what you thought about the movie. You can tell me your wild theories and interpretations of it. Let me know what you thought about this review. And do all those things that I always say. Like, comment, share, subscribe. It's just stuck in my brain now. I say it all the time. And I also just wanted to give a quick shout out to a friend of mine, Justin Buchanan. Hi, Justin. Who is the co-host of a podcast called the My Scrubs podcast. If you're a fan of the TV show Scrubs, I'd recommend giving it a listen. That's actually how I found him, and then we began talking. And he's a really cool guy. He's also very much into photography, and you can see all of this on his Instagram and also his personal blog/website, which I will link both down below.